Welcome to my sewing room. We have such an exciting show for you today. The title of the show is Transparent Applique. It is easy and fun to do, and just wait until you see these beautiful clothes. The first garment I have for you today is a magnificent ladies' evening dress. The top has transparent applique, absolutely beautifully done. Look at these gorgeous folded roses. Beautiful, beautiful work, and then on down. Now this is the transparent applique, where you see lace peeking through and beautiful embroidery stitches and this absolutely magnificent bow. And the bow even travels on to the top of this beautiful over blouse. Of course, all of this is done on your sewing machine. Next, ladies' lingerie is one of the favorite things for people to do in heirloom sewing, period, and especially with this transparent applique. I would like for you to look right here at this beautiful design with three colors. It has the beautiful green, a pink, and a paler pink, and an ecru. Actually, I guess there are four colors there. And then beautiful double needle pin tucks with sewing machine embroidery at the top and other beautiful sewing machine tricks all the way down to the lace on the bottom of the skirt. Do you like ladies' lingerie? I think you'll probably really love this. This is a beautiful camisole with a netting trim right around the waistline, and then look, more of this lovely transparent applique on the bottom of this beautiful ladies' slip and camisole. Do you like elegant tailored things for women? Well, I can assure you, you're going to love this beautiful linen blouse with the transparent applique and its elegant lace shaping around the blouse. There is one of the most beautiful children's dresses that I've ever seen right here, and then I'll show you the little petticoat and slip that go right along with it. Look at the details on this gorgeous velveteen dress. The collar has wonderful machine work, every bit of this done on the machine. Now let's go down to the bottom of the skirt. There is, you know, we've had so much fun with ribbons this series, and here is a beautiful ribbon trim. I want to show you one thing on the back too. Look at the belt on the back here. It has double needle pin tucks done on velveteen, and then these beautiful little beads that have been stitched in. There is also a darling pantaloons and slip to go along with this dress. Transparent applique is easy to do, and now I'm going to go over to the technique boards and show you how. Transparent applique begins with actually three pieces of fabric. First is a tearaway stabilizer, then comes an organdy or some kind of transparent fabric, and then your fashion fabric. First of all, in this case, we have a heart. Zigzag, T90 zigzag all the way around the heart. Now let me share with you another fabric. Matter of fact, two more fabrics. Here I've used the transparent applique with a netting, just a bridal tulle. And here I've used transparent applique. This is an interesting concept. This is bridal lace, and you see when you trim it away, the lace shows through. And this is a wonderful way to use the beautiful embroidery stitches on your sewing machine, embellish a piece of organdy, and use that as your transparent applique fabric. Now then, after all of your zigging and zagging is done, you trim away the front and then do a basic applique stitch around the outside. And as you can see on this side, we've trimmed away the tearaway stabilizer, and now then we can see the netting. You know, I have a very special guest for you today. This is my dear friend Gayle Hillert, who is Vice President for Marketing Support Services for Bernina of America. And by the way, Gayle made all of those beautiful garments you saw in the introduction. Gayle, welcome to the show. And I would like for you to tell us exactly how to do this transparent applique.
Thank you, Martha. I would love to explain how to do it. Transparent applique is so versatile and can be used in so many different ways, not only in heirloom, but in other ways as well. And as Martha said, you can use so many different fabrics for your transparent. We're going to start with the organdy, as she showed, and we're going to be doing some hem stitching on it, which will be showing off your sewing machine and all the wonderful stitches on your sewing machine. I'm going to start with a piece of organdy, and I have a wing needle in my machine. This is a size 100 wing needle, and I have a program stitch, so I'm just going to put the organdy underneath the foot and sew away. The wing needle takes the fibers of the fabric and it pierces through the fabric and spreads the fibers apart. The threads hold them so that holes are created. And you can use your hem stitching stitches on the machine, or you can use the decorative stitches. This is a decorative border stitch.
Gayle, is that the stitch that you use going around the design, like around the heart, or is that what you use to embellish the organdy flat piece with?
This is what I use to embellish the organdy.
I notice you're not using stabilizer. Do you not need stabilizer under this stitch?
No, not with this. This is Swiss organdy, and I have taken it and I have sprayed it with spray starch, so it's quite stiff and it holds it really well. When you're doing this, it's a good thing to start and sew in straight lines, and it is also a good tip just to pull a fiber away from the fabric so you have a straight line to stitch in. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the stitch designer on my machine, which I've designed a hem stitch for this. And I'm just going to sew the hem stitch.
Is that sort of like an entre-deux stitch, what we refer to as an entre-deux stitch?
It is. It's a little bit, this is going to be a little bit larger than an entre-deux stitch. And it gives a very good look. You can use this in many ways besides embellishing. You can attach lace with a hem stitch. You can actually hem with a hem stitch. Turn up your hem, and it gives the appearance of the older looking heirlooms that you find in your mother's attic or your, every once in a while at garage sales, those wonderful finds that we stumble upon sometimes.
Beautiful stitch, Gayle.
So that is the heirloom stitch. Maybe you can see it a little bit better if I move this over here. So I would do that throughout the whole piece, and I would embellish the entire piece. And that is my embellished organdy. And then next I have my heart pattern, and I would draw that on the stabilizer. And
that keeps you from having to draw on the fabric too, doesn't it?
Right. And then you make a sandwich. That's what I like to call it. Martha talked about the 3 types of fabrics that you use to do transparent applique. But if you can look at it or think of it as a sandwich, it helps keep everything in your mind. And the bread would be my stabilizer, and then my fashion fabric, in this case it's linen. And then I have netting, which would be in between, or the organdy or the lace, whichever you decided to use. So you just use these 3 different fabrics and make your sandwich. Okay, Martha, I'm going to give you this sandwich.
Thanks.
And I'm going to start sewing on this one, which has been marked. And you can see I have pins in here to stabilize. And I have changed my needle to a size 80 needle, and I still have a 60 weight thread in the machine. And I am going to sew with a zigzag stitch, and I have a 1 width and a 1 length. So it's a, as you said, a tenincy?
A tenincy, yeah, that's southern.
Zigzag stitch. And we're just going to follow the shape of the heart all the way around.
An 80 needle is your needle of choice. Do you ever use smaller or larger than an 80?
I use smaller usually, but because I'm working with linen and stabilizer and all of this, I am going to use an 80 right now. And then I pivot and take that curve and go right around the heart. So you'd follow that all the way around until you have your design. And I have one that is all stitched, so I can show you the next step. Now you have your 3 layers sewn together with the zigzag stitch. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to cut away the linen layer. And I'm just going to pierce that. You have to be very careful not to cut into the transparent fabric that is in between. So you want a really nice sharp pair of scissors, and you want to cut very, very close to that stitching. Another good pair of scissors is the applique scissors, the duckbill scissors, and you just trim away.
That's called very carefully. Is that right?
It is. You have to hold your tongue in the right place in order to do it. It's really not too bad. Once you get it started, then it's not too bad. But you just want to cut very, very trim, very, very close to that stitching. I'm sure you can see this on the camera. And your scissors are important. We also have some scissors here that are called kindergarten scissors with the blunt point, and these are wonderful too. They never nip the lace. They work very, very well.
Now that's the fashion fabric you're cutting out from behind.
Right. So I would cut that all the way around and cut it off. And I still have my stabilizer behind, which is very important because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the satin stitching on top. And then I would change my thread again, keep the same needle, and I would just do a satin stitch with a decorative thread. This is a rayon thread. And I have this set on a stitch width 3 and a nice satin stitch. So you would satin stitch all the way around. And once you have done that, then you're ready for the fun part. You can trim away. You just take your stabilizer and you tear it off like this.
And then trim away.
And
Gayle,
trim.
show us once again that final model over there that is so pretty.
Okay.
That has those gorgeous decorative stitches and some eyelets, I think, also on it, doesn't it?
Right.
Oh, that is so pretty.
These are all really hem stitches on the machine except for these, which are decorative stitches. And when you put that wing needle in, the decorative stitch takes a whole different look.
Well, Gayle, thank you so very much for teaching us about transparent applique. And next, we have a magnificent pillow for your home using transparent applique. This beautiful pillow uses the centerpiece that Gayle has just demonstrated how to make for you. These adorable little machine-made eyelets are what we used to run the ribbon through. And I'd like for you to just look at this edging on the ruffle. Beautiful, large machine scallops that go all the way around and make it ever so beautiful. Gayle, would you show us a little bit about how to do this?
I would love to. First, you would start with the ruffle, or at least I start with the ruffle, because that's probably a time-consuming part, especially when you satin stitch and put the edging on there. So you'd take your length of fabric and you just would press it. This is folded and pressed. And you get that ready. And then you bring it to the sewing machine and you would put the same thread in the top and the bobbin, in the needle and the bobbin, so that when you sew your scallop and trim, you have the same look on both sides. So after I did that, then I would take my trusty good sharp scissors again and I would trim the scallop away. Making the ruffle is very easy. I use a foot that has a hole right here and I run cording through that, and then I just zigzag over the cording, and then I pull up the ruffle.
Boy, that's an easy way to make a ruffle.
And that way you can include the lace and the ruffle. You can put as many layers as you want in there and it never breaks.
Well, that is an elegant way to make a ruffle. And isn't it wonderful that you did it out of the beautiful heavy linen?
Yes.
And did that gorgeous scallop through both layers.
Linen is so beautiful. It retains its shape and it doesn't droop and get wilty. So once I had the ruffle done, then again I make another sandwich. So I'm going to take my embellished top, this is the right side, and I'm going to have to line that with something. So I take another piece of the linen and that's my lining. And that makes the hem stitches show up even nicer. And then I would put the ruffle next in there, and I'm going to leave that out today just to show you this. I'm going to now put on the back, and when I put the backing on, I just make 2 pieces and then it's folded and you can just stuff your pillow form inside. And I think the back should be as pretty as the front, so you can use a decorative stitch to put on the back, and you can also use the monograms on the machine to sign your piece of artwork. And then you would just stitch all the way around and then turn it out. And your pillow is done.
That is beautiful. I love the way you put your monogram on the back too. Now we have a very special silk ribbon stitch for you, the daisy. I am pleased to have as my guest today Beverly Sheldrick of New Zealand. Beverly is the author of the silk ribbon book, Colonial Inspirations, and she's also a guest designer for So Beautiful magazine. Beverly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's great to be with you as always. Today, I want to talk to your ladies about Lazy Daisy Stitch. Now, it's a stitch that I'm sure all of you already know. You will see that I've used it to great effect on this little child's ball. Now, what I want to talk to you about is this. Most of you probably already do it like this. Putting the needle, when you secure the end of this little loop, you put it down right beside it. Now, have you thought about the difference it makes if you elongate it? Can you see I have given this daisy here a very shaggy look? So when I have done my Lazy Daisy stitch, I've gone like this, as we all do, and then instead of putting it straight down there, I've taken it not straight ahead, but to one side, like that. It's quite a long elongation. But look at the difference that it makes when it gives it that lovely shaggy look. And so if you've got a lot of daisies, as you often do, then you can have a mixture of the various different daisies, making them all look just that little bit different, and it can be very, very effective.
You know, Beverly, I really have never seen it done that way, and it does give you two entirely different looks with the Lazy Daisy. Beverly, thank you so very much. And now then, I have an absolutely magnificent doll dress for you. This beautiful doll dress has a combination of smocking plus French sewing by machine. The little smocked collar is absolutely precious with this smocking that dips down in the front. Then the skirt of the dress is what I'm going to show you how to make today. See those precious little diamonds with the organdy in between, and then the little diamond shape on the bottom with the gathered lace? This is very easy to do, and you're soon going to know how. All right, here first of all you transfer the designs onto your fabric. In other words, the diamonds and the jagged skirt. Now then, I'm going to come in here and lace shape both the bottom of the skirt as well as each one of these diamonds. I come in there, I fold it back on itself, put the pin in through 2 layers, and that is how you make the lace-shaped diamond. Next, I come in after I've shaped the diamond. Now look, I have zigzagged, just plain zigzagged all the way around this diamond. And the next step is, well, first of all, I need to cut off that little lace tail right there. The next step is to come in here and cut away all of the fabric from behind the diamonds. Then I'm going to put the organdy fabric in behind those diamonds. Can you see that piece of organdy that's been trimmed away? Well, I could actually pull it on around here for you. I put a piece of organdy in behind that diamond, and then I come to the front and I zigzag around it, and then I go to the back and very carefully trim it away. Now that is absolutely all there is to making one of these lace-shaped diamonds with the organdy in the middle, and then the bottom has the lace that goes up and down and a little bit of gathered lace on the bottom, which was simply gathered and then zigzagged. I have a beautiful child's dress with a treatment very similar to this also, using the organdy and the transparency. This little dress, which uses one of the patterns for the series, has an organdy collar-bib is what we're calling this. And as you can see, the laces are simply crisscrossed on top of the organdy. See, that's a transparent. You can see my fingers through there. And we've used the beautiful Lazy Daisy flowers out of silk ribbon. Now, as you can see, there's entredeaux around this little bib, and the skirt is what I really would like for you to see. Let me hold it out just a little bit for you. Do you see the laces that have come down on either one of these panels, and then the laces go up and down, and then the lace is gathered on the bottom of this beautiful skirt? This is very simple to make, just several easy steps. First of all, I have the organdy, and I've simply drawn the grids on, stitched the laces down, just zigzag them down, shape the organdy for that beautiful collar bib. Now here we go on the skirt. Very easy to make also, just a straight piece of fabric. Pin your laces down after you've drawn the templates. You can see a template is underneath there. Zigzag both sides, and then over here I have cut the fabric from behind the lace. Now then, let's go to this piece, which has already been done, and I'm going to shape the laces along the bottom of the skirt. As a matter of fact, we better go over here to this side. Let's shape the laces along the bottom of the skirt like this. And then I'm going to trim away underneath the lace this whole part of the skirt. And after I trim the bottom of this skirt, it will look just like this. And then my lace was not quite wide enough. I wanted a little bit wider. So what did I do? I took 2 pieces of lace edging, put one of them on top of the other, just straight stitched them together, and I pulled the string at the top of the lace, gathered it, butted it up to the lace shaped on the bottom, and zigzagged it, and that is how I made this absolutely wonderful skirt with all of the fancy treatment. Next, I have a beautiful, beautiful quilt to share with you. I think this is the most beautiful flower basket, butterfly, spring flower quilt, and it's done in shadow applique. Let's start right here at the beginning. You can see that pretty little perky bow and this adorable butterfly. And then we'll move down to see the pretty basket. We could almost call this an Easter basket, couldn't we? With the green leaves, the iris, and these ever so pretty flowers. I think it is very beautiful. Now, what I'd like to share with you is, we can come back up here just a minute. Do you see this little flower, how it's quilted through the whole quilt? Let me show you how easy it is to do that. I have a board right here that shows you some of the beautiful shadow applique pieces. Now, here's what I'd like to illustrate. I take my template and put it down anywhere I want a little flower and draw the flowers. I'll come over here and draw another little flower, and as you can see, I've done several of those. Now, I've got a big piece to illustrate how easy it is to stitch those flowers through the front layer, the lining layer, the batting layer, and the backing of the quilt. All you do is straight stitch. Straight stitch around each petal of those flowers, going through all of the different layers. And that is what makes this absolutely beautiful effect right here. You can see the flowers just so beautifully quilted, and it goes through all of the layers, leaving everything else nice and puffy. Now that is how easy it is to quote-unquote quilt this quilt. Next, I'd like for you to come along with me to my attic, where I have a really beautiful antique garment to share with you. This dress certainly has to be in the super spectacular category. I purchased this dress at an antique auction in Kansas City earlier this year. Let's start at the beginning, at the top rather. This dress is just a magnificent story in itself. The bodice has these beautiful diamonds that have been stitched in with a Swiss motif in the middle. Just look at the lacework on the bodice of this dress. Now, this mother or grandmother who made this dress didn't leave any stone unturned. Look at the details on the sleeve. Another diamond shaped in with its mitering and the Swiss motifs. These beautiful pointed double needle pin tucks, except they weren't double needle pin tucks back then. You can make them that way now. Let's move on down the skirt. Beautiful released tucks on the skirt. One more time, look over here at these pin tucks over here that go right in between the panels of lace. I think that is the prettiest division for these points on the skirt. Then here we have another diamond with the Swiss motif, and just like the dress I showed you a few minutes ago and the doll dress, the bottom of the skirt goes up and down, and I love this ruffle. It has released pin tucks on the ruffle. Do you see how pretty that ruffle is? And then 2 rows of lace on the bottom, very similar to the dress I showed you just a few minutes ago. I've had so much fun today in my sewing room, and I thank you for joining me here. I would really like to invite you to be with us next time.